hear about this kind of pivot from using Influence Kit as an internal tool to making it into its own business. What have some of the challenges been about kind of pivoting into selling your product, running a SaaS essentially?
So, it's kind of an interesting story. Like the first code for Influence Kit was written in like 2011.
Okay.
And I didn't actually I don't think we got a first paying customer until like 2018. But that's just because we didn't start actually charging for it until 2018. So it took a long time to just realize that I had a product there that I could sell.
Okay.
Part of that might be that either I wasn't ready or it was a little bit, the market wasn't, the timing wasn't quite right. But I would say the challenge was that I think I wasn't persistent enough early on enough with trying to productize it. I had this internal tool. It worked great for us. It can be a little bit it can be a little bit difficult to bridge that gap, right? Well, it's working for us. That's kind of all we need. I didn't think of it as a product initially. I just thought of it as an internal tool. And so to get from there to the persistence that is needed to really get to the point where people are paying for it,
Okay.
That's a bit of a gap, right? Because it's pretty easy there to just be well, let's just keep using it ourselves. It doesn't really matter if other people are using it. The initial goal wasn't let's build a business around this. And so it was kind of let's see if we could sell it. So I think approaching it from that point of view, I wasn't really ready for how persistent you really have to be in terms of showing it to people, ignoring negative feedback or less than enthusiastic feedback, and really just continuing to push it out until you find the right audience, the right people who are oh yeah, this is great for me.
Yeah. Can I ask you, if you were already running successful blogs, why did you, and shifting Influence Kit into this space required persistence and probably required a lot of work. Why do it? Why, I mean, obviously, additional revenue and profits, but I'm saying was there a big drive for you with starting a SaaS? Does that question make sense? So
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I think a content business like my blogs and a SaaS business are just really different.
Yeah.
And I mean, part of it was just life timing, right? I had spent 10 years doing these things.
Mm-hmm.
I had been running content businesses for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just ready for something new.
Okay.
Part of it was also life events. My kids were starting to get older. In 2008, my daughter was born. So the content business was really good, conducive to that kind of lifestyle. It provided me a lot of flexibility. And then, around the time of when I wanted to start focusing on Influence Kit, I think I just had the bandwidth sort of well, my kids don't need me all the time. And I was just I want to try this. And then I also just think the ceiling on a SaaS business just feels a lot higher, right? It just feels like there's just a lot more opportunity there, a lot more control. So yeah, I think I just, a lot of those things just kind of combined.
Yeah.
And I just felt like it was the right time to just try it. And the funny thing is, it's not to say I hadn't tried before. 2011, I did show it to a few people. I kind of thought, well, maybe this could be a product. I just didn't. At that time, I showed it to a few people. They were kind of whatever. And I just kind of dropped it.
Yeah.
And I think that the reason for that was that I just didn't have all the other things in place to have the ridiculous, stubborn persistence that you need to just keep pushing on a thing until you actually figure out whether it has that possibility of working as a SaaS.